The following is brought to you in part by MFC Studios. The views of the show's host and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the management, owners, or staff of this radio station. And now, it came from the radio.
Yapatoy, and welcome once again to It Came From the Radio, the official of the Big Apple Con. This is your host, Mark Torres, speaking. We are here live via Zoom, via social distancing, courtesy of the East Meadow Public Library for our 40th live show in front of a live studio audience.
Yay!
Who ever knew we'd make it this far?
We are here with none other than Pronto Comics, Dominic Definition Man Sperano.
That is I, good listeners.
We have senior correspondent Charlie Saldino.
Hey, everybody.
We have from thelifewithjenergy.com, Jen Elise Feldy.
Hello, good evening.
And we have our special guest we're going to be talking to, with, and about is none other than Jonathan Syphax. Say hi.
Hello, how are y'all?
All right, so we're going to be talking to him in just a moment. But before we do any of that, we have to take it away with the news. The news is brought to you in part by the fine folks of the Big Apple Con, of which we are the official radio show of, celebrating with 25 years of comic bookness and Big Apple stuff. For more information, go to www.bigapplecc.com. And let's see, their next convention, hopefully, probably, most likely, is going to be on May 1st and May 2nd of this year. Also want to give our shout outs for our Patreons, of which there are Danny Grillo, award-winning director Jared Burrell, Kyle Horn, Millie Portes, Newsday famous Dresden Media, Unjikun, Shadow Rabbit Art, The Huracan, and Yasmin and Ray. If you want to get your own little shout-out, go to www.patreon.com, look up It Came From the Radio in the search bar, and just for $1 a month, you can get your own little shout-out. Also, if you want to support us on our website, itcamefromradio.com, you can order us a pizza. There's a little icon on the website. Just click on pizza, and you can give us a pizza. We will greatly appreciate it. Whew. All right, so let's start off with the news. Tons and tons and tons of sad news. So let's just start off with that. Actor Jonathan Richardson has died recently from the pandemic. Not from the pandemic, from COVID-19. John,
Before the pandemic. So.
That's true. John was in a slew of films between the 50s all the way up to the early 90s, but is perhaps best known as a male lead in the 1966 film 1 Million Years BC. Charlie, we have a senior correspondent, Charlie Saldino. You were around when that movie came out, right?
Oh, yes, I was.
Big fan?
Big fan, yeah. It was a crazy movie. It was a remake of obviously a silent film way back in the 30s, but yeah, I was a big fan of that film. I was a young guy. I was a big fan of Raquel, so, Rocky, as they called her.
Were you too busy watching Raquel Welch to remember the guy in the movie?
Yes, I was. No, I mean, you got to remember, this guy was all cavemaned out. If he was in like a million movies, but nobody would know him if they knew him from 1 million years BC.
Right. So, all right. So somebody's listening to us. You have to turn down that this volume.
Yeah.
But, moving on for more. He was a spry 86 years old. So moving on for some more sad news. Actor Antonio Sabato Sr. also died recently, also from the coronavirus. Antonio was in such films as Grand Prix, Shoot Twice, Beyond the Law, $1 Too Many, Diary of a Telephone Operator, Mafia Connection, 7 Blood-Strained Orchids, Crime Boss, The Last Desperate Hours, The Return of the 38 Gang, War of the Robots, Escape from the Bronx, Thunder Squad, and High Voltage, just to name a few. Of note, he is the father of model and actor Antonio Sabato Jr., of which I'm familiar with his work. I really didn't know
Hot.
his father. Oh, he's hot?
He's hot.
The father or the son?
The son.
Oh, what? The father could have been hot too. I don't know.
Well, I'm just praising his creation.
Hey, I did it with Raquel. She could do it with Antonia.
All right, fair enough. So
Exactly.
he was another spry 77 years old.
Wow.
Moving on for some more sad news.
Yeah, why not? Let's go.
Yeah, why not?
Actress and singer Marion Ramsey also died recently from what is being called a short illness. While appearing in many films and TV series, Marion was best known for her role as Officer Laverne Hooks in the Police Academy and its sequels, Police Academy 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Marion, however, did not return for Part 7, nor the live-action television series of the same name. Of note, Marion did reunite with her Police Academy co-stars in the 2015 film Lava Lantula, which was a spin-off of the Sharknado series, and its sequel, To Lava, To Lantula. I actually saw both of those films. They were awesomely bad. Any Police Academy fans in the group?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jen.
that's it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Dominic, you're a
What
fan?
possessed you to watch those movies?
Oh, well, the commercial said it was a Police Academy reunion for this movie. I'm like, I must see this movie. And it was horrible, but in a good way. And then they made the sequel that I have to watch, To Lava, To Lantula. I just saw that like 2 days ago. It was ridiculous.
Wow. Is that a theme? You saw, what was the name of it?
Lava Lantula. So it was tarantulas that spewed out lava.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Oh,
boy.
my God.
Oh, wow.
Maybe that would end our crisis.
Mark, I should have told you something.
Yeah. Why wasn't that a hit like
That should have clued you in, man.
Sharknado or whatever?
Well, they had a crossover with Sharknado that Ian Zerling showed up in Lava Lantula, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going this way to get some sharks." He's like, "Yeah, I'm going that way to kill some spiders."
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I gotta see this.
Oh, my.
So she was a spry 73.
Wow. Wow.
All right, so more sad news. Actress Diana Claire Malay also
Hold
died
on.
recently. Yes.
What is the record for sad news on the show?
I think this is it.
It might be because this is a lot.
This is a lot. I'm just saying, like,
I'm burning through them as fast as I can.
I know, and I don't mean to slow it down, but I just was thinking, like, what is the record? You know,
How are you gonna make me go count? We should have a contest.
Not right now.
See how
but-
many people are listening to the show who can listen to all the other shows.
Yeah, do we have any
Which one has the
super fans
most?
out there that, you know, like they can go on April 21st, 2022, you know, or whatever, 2018, you listed 5 celebrity deaths, which is the all-time high.
This was
This
up
is good
there.
because we're up to 4. Right?
So,
This is the 4th celebrity death.
yes,
I mean, there's a lot of people died in 2016 too.
I know.
Yeah.
So let's see. Actress Diana Claire Malay also died recently. As of this recording, no cause of death has been announced. While having guest starred in close to 100 primetime TV shows, Diana was perhaps most famous for her role in the original Dark Shadows TV series. Once again, Charlie Saldino, senior correspondent, you were a big fan of Dark Shadows, right?
I was, yeah, it wasn't that I was a big fan of Dark Shadows. When I worked at ABC, Dark Shadows just ended, and they shot Ryan's Hope in that studio. So I watched Dark Shadows, you know, on and off. I was young, but you know, I was just. I liked it, but I didn't like it because not a lot of action. It was more of a story than people's necks getting ripped out by vampires.
So too much talking, not enough stabbing.
Right, because I was a kid, but when I watch it now, it's like a classic. But it's so funny that I came into ABC just as that was going out, and Ryan's Hope filled that studio up.
Oh, so she was once again a spry 85.
Wow.
All right, next one. More sad news. Comic book artist Steve Lytle also died recently from the coronavirus. Steve worked primarily for DC, but also in the 90s worked for Marvel on such books as Batman, Batman the Outsiders, Marvel Comics Presents, Doom Patrol, Legion of Superheroes, and the DC's Who's Who series. I was a fan of his work. Dominic, you're a comic guy. Do you remember Steve's work?
I'm afraid I don't. When was he active?
In the 90s, all the way up to the early 20s.
The early 20s.
That's all
The
it is.
early-
Is the early 20s.
The early 2010s, I guess, or so.
Yeah, he was he
2000s.
was big for comic book covers. He did a lot of comic book covers. I remember his work from the comic
Okay.
book trading card series that he did. But he was a really great artist. I
Then,
do love his
then
stuff.
there's a good chance that I probably collected a card, or definitely read a book, because
You've seen his work. I mean, he was out there.
how do you spell his last name?
Lighttle. Lytle. He had a unique signature, so that's how I always
Yeah,
knew
let me
his
take
work.
a look at his work, and I can tell you instantaneously.
So while he's doing that, he was a young 61.
That's pretty young.
Wow. Don't tell me that stuff.
Mm,
I'm
So-
looking at it. I might have read his stuff, but I can honestly tell you the covers that I'm looking at, nothing.
Nothing
and
pops
it's
out.
great work. Don't get me wrong. It just doesn't pop out into my memory that I've read these books. I really got deeper into comics in like the 2000s.
Okay.
So I might have just missed it when he was doing stuff.
So Jonathan, you're a comic guy. Do you remember Steve's work?
I apologize. I really don't. If you could tell me some of the titles or
Strangely-
storylines.
You know, it's funny. Like, I'm looking at one book and I remember reading this one. So yes, I am familiar with his work. It was a thing that didn't really go anywhere with DC, but it was an interesting concept. Aztec, the Ultimate Man, and he did the digital cover on that. So yeah, I've definitely ran across his stuff. I see he's done some Spider-Man and things.
Yes. Like I said, if
Heroes.
you were around in that time, you've probably seen
Yeah.
his work.
I know, yeah, I don't dispute. I've definitely seen his work. Definitely seen it. I've probably picked it up. I probably owned some issues that he's worked on. Definitely.
All right.
Oh, okay. One more thing. I
Yes.
see like a really good cover that he did of the Scarlet Spider during the Clone War saga. So
Yes.
No, I've-
Okay.
Oh, okay.
you-
That I do know.
there you
The
go.
Clone Wars, I know. Yeah.
Next time, if someone worked on the Clone Wars, throw that out first.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So finally, the last bit of sad news. Whew.
Good Lord, man. That's like, I think this is a record. This is what, 6 deaths? that we're-
At least.
Oh, my goodness.
At least
So-
6 deaths. Yeah.
the
this is
country's
morbid.
dying, so everyone's falling in line.
So let's see.
Wow, that just got dark.
Well, let's end it with the sad news so we can get to the more happier news. So actor John Henry Matthew Riley also died recently. Also, as of this recording, no cause of death has been announced. While appearing in numerous TV shows, John is perhaps known for his role as Sean Donnelly on the daytime soap General Hospital and Alistair Crane on the soap Passions. Of note, John also did some voice acting and was the role of Hawkeye in a 90s Iron Man cartoon. You guys remember the Iron Man cartoon that they played the I Am Iron Man song?
Yeah, I do. I think you can actually watch it on Disney Plus. I
Yes.
do remember it a little bit. It didn't get as big as X-Men or Spider-Man did, though.
Right, but he played Hawkeye on that.
Yeah.
And Charlie, actually, Dominic, aren't you the soap guy, or was it Charlie who was the soap guy? One of you two watched soaps, I remember.
I used to watch. My mother was into CBS soaps, so I first was watching As the World Turns with her.
Okay.
And then I started watching the Young and the Restless.
Okay. So Charlie, were you a Passions or a General Hospital fan?
Actually, that was the only soap at ABC that was shot in LA.
Ah.
So the only time we got to see that, I mean, when you're in the office, you get to see all the rehearsals of all the soap operas, but we didn't see that. That's how I'm familiar with the soap operas, by watching the rehearsals. And that was in LA. I knew some of the stars when they visited New York and were on the show, but as far as that show, I just know bits and pieces, so not that familiar.
All right. Well, he was another Spry 86.
A slightly related anecdote. One of the founding members of Pronto Comics was actually a soap opera actor.
Really? Which
Yeah,
soap?
He was on As the World Turns, and he'd play like an officer kind of in the background. Really good guy, very good at editing too. His name's Ray Crisera, and he's really devoted himself to acting. since-
Officer in the background. That's his title.
Yeah, he was like Officer Reynolds or something was what he was. And like after I met him and he told me he had worked on it, I would then would watch it every once in a while, and I'd see him in the background. I'm like, holy shit! Sorry. Oh my God! There he is! Right there. It was kind of weird when you see someone you know who is an actor on TV.
I've seen that a couple of times.
It's weird, right?
A little
That
bit,
is
yeah.
cool.
I can't wait till when we see Jen on TV.
Huh. Well, you can go on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, go on. What's the name of the movie that's on Amazon Prime right now?
Bloody Nun 2 is coming out. You can go on Vimeo and rent a movie that just came out last week.
What's that one called?
Oh, that's
That
cool.
is called Remember Marie.
Yeah, see? You can see Jen right now.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see some things. Or you can go to Governor's on Saturday. I'm hosting Governor's Comedy Club Saturday.
I love. Is that Rocco's Modern Mike?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
thought that was such a great name because if anybody watched Snick, they would know what that means.
Rocco's
Snick
Right.
Modern
and
Life, yeah.
Rocco,
Yep.
yeah.
Kids. That's how you do segues.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
Bada-boom.
yes, nicely done. All
This-
right, so let's go with the happier, not as happy.
Oh, thank
happier
God.
news.
About damn time.
All right, from Lee. Remember when this was considered a lot of money? Part 2 department.
Whatever it is,
the,
I still consider it a lot of money. I
from
don't have
the
that much.
Nobody Died department, and this is something else. Go ahead.
Wonder Woman Part 2 has kept the #1 spot in the box office for now three weeks in a row, and as of this recording, which is January 13th, 2021, has pulled in $131 million worldwide, of which $32.6 million in domestic box office receipts. To put things into perspective, this time last year, the #1 film was the train wreck Star Wars Part 9, which also held the top box office spot for 3 weeks in a row and was at $463 million worldwide, pulling in an additional $46 million of that in the US. Of course, this does not factor into how many new subscribers HBO Max got, nor how many people watched it on the streaming service, but it's nowhere near the $200 million budget.
Wow.
First of all, it made that much money because it was the only, in my opinion,
My
the
question
only
is why?
blockbuster movie that they were willing to put out this year. Like everyone has held back.
Well,
any
last year.
Well, last year, 2020. They've held every blockbuster back because they're like, we want it to come out in theaters because they know that's how they're going to make their money. They're not going to make the money on the streaming, apparently. And they've held everything back. And Warner Brothers is like, put it out. So it's kind of like a paper tiger. It's a good movie, but it's a paper tiger because it had no competition. And this is finally like some big screen movie that people finally got to watch. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong, but you have to.
I'd be curious to see if like Marvel, if they put out the Black Widow, because she was supposed to have her solo movie. 2020 was really supposed to be like the year of women in terms of like superhero movies, because you had Black Widow and Wonder Woman 1984. I guarantee you, if they put out Black Widow on Disney Plus, it'd probably make the same amount of money, if not more. But they're scared to do it for some reason.
Agreed. So let's see. So speaking of money, from the Holy Inflation Batman department, a copy of Batman #1 has set a new record for the world's most valuable Batman comic book at $1.53 million, beating out a copy of Detective Comics #27, which also was sold at auction for $1.5 million, which was sold in November of last year. Auctioneers say, I am certainly pleased but not surprised that Batman #1 has already broken our record for the most expensive comic sold. It's beautiful. The pages are all white and it has a CGC grade of 9.4. It originates from a collection of Billy T. Giles, who bought the book in Houston in 1982 for just $3,000.
A measly $3,000.
Oh man.
Further proof you've got to have money to make money.
Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, from 82 to now?
Absolutely.
That's some very expensive paper.
Yes, and the thing is, it's in a little plastic container, so you can't even read the book.
Well, once you open it, that's it. It's over.
Yeah, it disintegrates, and then the money,
Yeah.
the value is worthless. So, like, it makes me think, like, is there an actual book in there, or do they just say that there's a book in there?
Oh yeah, right.
So,
Who's
That
gonna
would-
check?
That
Kinda
would be
funny.
the biggest FU to anybody who bought that.
that's right, Jen. It's no one's gonna check because they're worried about losing their investment.
Right.
like
So
when-
you just do a cover, fill it
Yeah.
up with some really cheap tissue paper. That's it.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, do you remember when we were at the studio, the old studio, and that that news story about the Superman comic came up, and it was 2 point something million, and the guy just bought it, and we were just like, my God, he
Yes.
just bought it. Could you imagine what this guy has? You know, this was in his pocket, you know?
I remember that. It's crazy
Yeah.
how these books are being sold. And like I said, they're all in the little capsule, in a little capsule. So it's really weird that you can't even enjoy it. You can just say, I paid this much for this book. Let me sell it for a bunch of more money later on.
Well, it's interesting because it's like those people that buy really rare bottles of wine that they'll never open or drink.
Yeah.
So it's like that. And it also reminds me of like the Death of Superman, you know, when they sold like 1 million copies of that, and they're like, never open it or else it'll lose value. It won't lose value.
I still have mine that's unopened.
Well, because you could open it. There's no value. I remember talking to Bob Rozakis, who said like there would only be value if you buy 999,000 of them, burn them all, then finally you'd have some value to it. But in a certain way, like these things are becoming commodities.
Yeah.
Just like there's a great documentary on HBO about the art market. I forgot what it's called, but it's like the art market, and it's about the selling and reselling of art, which no one ever conceived of until the 70s, that you could resell a painting for higher value, thus screwing the artist out of any money or residuals.
Right.
So like say you buy a piece of art for $3,000, you hold on to it, and then you want to resell it, and then you resell it for $100,000. So, and these things, because they are rare, I don't even argue they have even more value to some degree because they're so rare now, these golden age comics and origins of superheroes. You can do the same thing.
Very true.
Yeah.
So speaking of more
Mark
money,
Carbo have this idea? Didn't Mark Carbo have this idea? Right?
what?
He was like, "Oh, you need to have me on so you can.
Oh,
I can
yes.
tell you about which comic books
Which
to
are
invest
the
into."
comics are investable? Yes.
Yes, I'll stick with stocks.
So speaking of more money, from the I'll Be Ready department, none other than David Hasselhoff is auctioning off his most valued possessions. And if you get the winning bid on his personal Knight Rider's kit and pay the appropriate delivery fees, David will personally deliver the vehicle to a location of your choosing. Sadly, this particular kit was not used during the production of the series.
Okay.
So
That's
It was the
funny.
backup kit.
it's a kit replica, but it's the one that David Hasselhoff drives around in because that's what he does in his spare time, fighting
Oh, I
crime.
can't-
And you have him.
I gotta find a picture of this. Hold on.
He
I
he
can't
drives
believe he's
around
still-
in that, then gets out in the orange bathing suit and jumps in the ocean.
Yeah,
I can't like. Why would he want to be driving that car around?
it is. So as of this recording, the bid is up to $975,000. And the bidding ends on January 23rd. So would anybody pay that much for like the car to be delivered by David Hasselhoff?
No.
Absolutely not. No way.
You know why he's selling the car? Because he wants to buy that issue of Batman.
There you go.
He needs the money.
Good tie-in on that one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't.
Wow.
I wouldn't pay for a McDonald's delivery with his picture on it.
Wow, no love for David Hasselhoff. Wow. All right.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
if David was bringing food with him, then I would have paid.
Yeah, if he brought McDonald's, then you would pay the $975,000.
I mean, even if I had a firstborn and it was held
I
hostage,
tip him
I don't think
$2.
I'd pay that much.
Yeah,
No. Not even your firstborand. That's
No,
all right.
they wouldn't be rescued. I wouldn't pay that much. So
Wow.
no.
All right.
No.
They were not kidding, because like I googled David Hasselhoff driving. He does have this replica. That
Yeah,
drives
I'm telling you,
around.
he drives around, he fights crime. Nobody believes me, but he does.
Now the only thing that would be cooler is if the replica actually talked to him.
Well, I'm sure in his mind it does.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If Mr. Feeney was actually like on the other end.
Uh,
Although honestly now, truth be told, if you had a Bluetooth, he could literally I don't remember the guy's name. I don't remember.
William
the
Daniels.
He could call, I'm going to call him Mr. Feeney anyway.
All right.
He could call Mr. Feeney and be driving around, and then it would be like the ultimate full circle in a certain way.
Yeah.
Isn't that the guy that was Tom Selleck's boss in Magnum PI?
No,
No,
that was
that's
someone else.
Higgins.
That
That's
was Higgins.
Higgins. Okay.
It was never
Ah.
truly confirmed, if I recall, though.
if it was his boss or not. It was just a guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's
This
see.
mysterious
All
writer.
right, so let's see. Final bit of news. Final bit of news.
Oh, I don't know if anything can top this.
Well, this might be good. From the yet another award show department, the first annual Critics' Choice Super Awards is now in the books. For those of you who haven't been paying attention, or really care for that matter, the Critics' Choice Super Awards is essentially a, quote, spin-off award show that was created to, quote, recognize the brilliance, creativity, and artistic excellence showcased in genres that, for far too long, have been overlooked by other award shows. So they had their own, the Critics' Choice
Including
Awards.
the MTV Movie Awards
Yes.
for
So-
best action sequence and best kiss. Come on.
So what makes this interesting is that the Critics' Choice people, they had their own award show called the Critics' Choice Award Show. And they felt that they needed to make another award show that neglected stuff that their own award show didn't do.
God in
I may
heaven.
watch it.
It's kind of like
Um,
I guess it's like how the Academy Awards have those technical awards, which they only give a montage to.
But they're saying that this is for categories and stuff that they weren't paying attention to. So here's a list of their the awards.
To me, it's like double secret probation.
Yes.
It's useless.
But you know what I'm saying? Like they do those technical awards, which they for some reason film just so they can have a montage so they can show it during the Academy Awards. It sounds like this is their like. Well, why don't we just make that its own award show and air it anyway?
But this is different because if you listen to the categories, this is
Oh,
what
I
makes
can't wait
it.
for the categories.
So they make so remember they have their own Critics' Choice Awards show,
Right.
And separate. So now this award show has the best action movie, animated movie, superhero movie, horror movie, science fiction and fantasy movie, and then the best actors and actresses in those categories, as well as a separate award for voice acting, plus all the same categories for TV series, and they have a category for best villain in a movie and TV series. So they're just
What did they
separating.
do on the first one?
Right. Exactly.
So that's exactly it's the height of ridiculousness, in my opinion, that they're doing this, because we've had a show about award shows and we all have our own dubious opinions about award shows, but this one I feel it's pandering and it really gets me upset that they did this.
It's kind of God, like
Dominic is lost.
like I actually kind of like the categories, but it does in some way almost seem like the MTV Movie Awards, especially with best villain in a TV show.
Yeah.
And yeah, why not just like incorporate? But I guess maybe they don't want to incorporate it for time.
No, it's just they have the
Or they're
best
just
movie
lazy?
award show. They have a movie for best movie. So why now it's got to be they have to separate it. So it's like if you had the Women in Film Awards that only celebrate women-only films. Like, wait a minute. Why aren't they good enough to be with everybody else? Why do you have to have a special award show that is just pandering to your audience? Because obviously, superhero movies is a multi-billion-dollar industry now. So now
Right.
they have to make a special thing for best superhero movie. Come on, really?
I think they just want to give more awards because I know people, I'm not going to name names, that make their own film festivals so then they'll win awards. If you make your film festival, you choose who wins the awards. Now your movies have more clout. Perhaps there's just more movies and shows that needed more stars.
That's actually a very valid point. So they're making more award shows to give themselves more awards. It's very good.
Maybe. It
So
happens.
so with that, we're going to take our break.
It's like Kevin Smith winning the movie awards or something.
Yes, we're going to take our break, and we're going to be right back with It Came From the Radio.
Hey everybody, this is Todd McFarlane of the record-setting Spawn comic series. And if you're looking for any kind of cool conversation about creators, about entertainment, about all that good stuff, you go to It Came From the Radio. You're listening to the right spot.
Hi, you've heard my voice open and close the show. Now we want to hear your voice. If you have a business or product, you can record a commercial here. We offer 30 and 60-second spots. For more information, contact Mark at mfc_studios@hotmail.com.
This is Quentin Flynn, a popular voice actor known for Axel, Timon, and Raiden from the Metal Gear series. And you're listening to It Came From the Radio. Stick around.
Hey guys, this is Christy from Custom Cakes by Christy. I want you to know that I'm here for you. I'm keeping my private kitchen open for any needs your family may have. I've been focusing on breads, soups, muffins, quiches, and other basics, but I'm still accepting dessert orders as well. Please follow my Facebook for immediate pickup items. Private message me for custom orders. Custom Cakes by Christy, INC, KRISTY. Text me at 631-606-8166.
Hey, I'm Mike Kingston, the writer and creator of Headlocked.
And I am WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. And guess what you're listening to? You're listening to It Came From the Radio.
The Comic Book Depot has been in business since 1993. Your one-stop comic book shop for comics, gaming, and collectibles. The Comic Book Depot club membership is $15 and gets you 15% off new comics, back issues, graphic novels, and 10% off comic book supplies. Located at 2847 Jerusalem Avenue in Wantagh, New York. Contact us on Facebook for curbside pickup because new comics are back. For more information, give Alan a call at 516-221-9337. The Comic Book Depot.
Hi, this is Amy Jo Johnson, writer-director from the film The Space Between, and you're listening to It Came From the Radio.
New comics are back at Cosmic Comics and Games of Baldwin. This December, get ready for the next Marvel Comics event, King in Black. Cosmic Comics and Games is open Wednesday from noon to 7, Thursday from 2 to 7, Friday from 2 to 7, and Saturday from noon to 5. So if you want the latest Marvel, DC, Image, or independent comics, back issues, comic book supplies, or magic cards, please call Chuck at 516-763-1133 for all the details. That's Cosmic Comics and Games of Baldwin. Thank you, and stay safe.
Grimlock having fun on It Came From the Radio.
Me, Greg Berger, also.
Now, back to our show.
And welcome back to It Came From the Radio, the official The Big Apple Con. This is your host, Mark Torres, speaking on our 40th live show, courtesy of the East Meadow Public Library. I'm here with senior correspondent Charlie Saldino.
How you doing?
Pronto Comics Dominic Definition Man Sprano.
You realize that this live show is now hitting middle age.
From The Life with Energies, Jenny Feldy.
Good evening.
And our guest, special guest we're going to talk to with and about is none other than comic book creator Jonathan Syphax.
Hello, hello.
So before we get to the questions, just want to mention that the East Meadow Public Library has tons of other programs that they have. Every day there's always something going on. So go to www.eastmeadow.info and look up all the stuff on their little calendar. And there's tons of stuff, and including our own monthly show that we have, courtesy of the East Meadow Public Library. All right, so Jonathan, why don't you just give us a quick brief introduction of yourself and how did you get into the comic book world?
Okay, my name is Jonathan Syphax. I am a comic book writer, creator, and have my own company, Future Scope Comics. I actually met up with a gentleman named George Medina, built a close friendship with him in college. He introduced me to Samuel Vera, and then we met Annabelle Arroyo and worked together on Crazy Comics and created a book called Street Journal that we're working on to be put out.
All right. So
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's very, very good. So you're coming out with a new book, right? That's coming out right now, right?
Yes, actually now I have Future Scope comic showcase. Celestine, my stories as introductory stories to kind of put you into my comic world and give you an idea of some of the titles that are going to be out in the future, along with us rewriting a book called Street Journal that I'm actually writing with George Medina.
So what is Street Journal about? What's that about? Give us the synopsis of your books.
Okay. It's basically about a young man named Tariq who, despite being in a home of abuse, is trying to start a new life for his 2-year-old daughter and the mother of his child. It takes place in the South Bronx during 1995, very much around where I grew up. And we watch his story happen as he's doing his journal entries. So it's an inspiring story. It's edgy. We didn't take any edge off of it. We told the very real story from his point of view, but it's been very well received, and we're actually doing a revamp of the book now.
So they always say to write what you know. Was that a specific point of idea when you decided, I'm going to write about this because this is where I live, this is where I grew up, or did you just say this would be a great story to tell?
Absolutely. It was all about something that I experienced or people I knew or what was going on in the South Bronx at the time of the 80s, the early 80s into the mid to late 90s, because that's a generation basically I grew up in. And just to give a general overview, the South Bronx really got hit terribly, all of America, but really the South Bronx big time got hit with the crack epidemic that piggybacked off of the madness of what was going on in the Bronx in the late 70s. That, along with AIDS, carried over into 95. So I set the story in that environment where this young man is fighting through a home of abuse and addiction and things. It was based on people I knew, things I've seen, a lot of much like me, the writer, but doesn't think his story could really. We pulled from a lot of stuff around me. Everything I've either seen it happen, known someone that happened to, or happened directly to me.
Wow. Jen, do you have a question for Jonathan?
Yeah, do you think your character Valis could fix this debacle that the United States is in right now? Perhaps lessen the divisiveness?
I'm sorry. Say that again. I apologize.
Do you think that your character, the super being Valis, am I saying that right? Valis could
Celestine,
end the
yes,
divisiveness? So how would this character fix the divisiveness occurring presently in the United States?
Oh, well, it's interesting because Celestine, really, when I was creating her from that separate story, I really wanted to create a lady that was beautiful, tough, intelligent, didn't take any stuff from nobody, knew who she was, but was trying to accept her strength and the comfortability in her skin. So at the end of the day, Celestine fight demons. She's trying to do the right thing. She's trying to find herself. Maybe she'll find she's very much like, this is my fault, so I'll stick with it. And if anybody wants the drama, I'll take care of them. I'm a strong lady, and you're just going to have to deal with it on my terms.
So I know we're getting a little bit of getting a little bit of a hard to hear.
Cuts out.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just letting you know there, Jonathan. Dominic, you have
I'm sorry.
That's no worries. It's technology is what we're working on. Dominic, you have a question for Jonathan?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Charlie,
I'm still trying to piece together because what he's saying is cutting out, and I'm trying to get what he's saying, and then I'm missing whole sentences, unfortunately. So I'm like,
me too.
Trying to piece together what he's trying to tell me, because everything sounds very interesting, and I love the fact that he's working from stuff that's real life and that's happened to him, because those are the best stories when you write what you know and you introduce it. Unfortunately, I'm just missing like large swaths of what he's telling me the stories about, so I'm having a hard time formulating questions.
That's a very valid point. Charlie, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I've been having the same audio problem, but I'm very interested in that he's working with the Bronx, and because I'm a Brooklyn boy, and Brooklyn and the Bronx have always been like, they're alike, but they always been at each other. Who's the better borough? But I'm liking that he's doing it from the 90s and also from the 70s, because it's very close. The times are very close, even though they're far apart in what was happening in that area. And I guess when you get an idea, you just go with it. Do you get any mental blocks in between, or you just run with that idea?
Well, with Street Journal, and I'll try to talk clear so that y'all hopefully can hear me better. Apologize about that.
Your speech is absolutely fine, sir. It's your connection.
It's the technology.
Cutting out. It's a technical issue.
Okay, it could be the
like right there.
internet that I'm on.
It's reminding me of the old AOL bing bing bing. You've got mail. That's the problem.
So let's try it this way. So Jonathan, try to keep the sentences shorter. That way we'll get little bits we can get in there as best as possible.
How about
no
sign
problem.
language?
Sign language. That'll work well on a radio show.
I'll show pages of the book.
Next week we're going to book a mime.
Yes. Well, basically with Street Journal, it was easy to write because I really was like, I'm going to tell the story, the materials from life, so I didn't have to really make up much. And I kind of said, I'm going to write this and I don't care how people judge it. I'm just going to tell the best story I possibly can. So it took a lot of pressure off me to try to make somebody happy and focus in on the story itself.
Now, okay, so I did get the part that the story is happening through his journal entries. So he's obviously narrating it. Are we actually going to see him writing in the journal? Is it going to open up with him writing in a journal and then it's a flashback? Is it that the journal entry is going to be like the header in each panel? Then we see the action. Like, I'm curious how you're working the journal entry into it. Like, they had, like, for a while, like, one-off of Batman stories where it was like Batman's journal, and you could read his thoughts in a script handwriting. And I'm just curious how you're working the text to the imagery.
Oh, well, what we do is, and that's a great question. We
see, when I hear stuff, I can do it.
Yeah. What we did was we took the journal entries and we made it so that it would look like it's on a sheet of paper in an actual journal.
Okay.
And then we would jump from the journal entry, which would be in captions, and there would be something happening in present time in coordination with that journal entry.
All right. That sounds like a really cool juxtaposition of the imagery and the writing.
Yeah. And sometimes you do we cut away from the journal entry and you just see his life happening as it's happening outside of any journal entries at all.
Jen, you have another question for Jonathan?
What would be another superhero you'd like to create, and who would be the inspiration for it?
Well, I have another superhero story called Zion 3, and that actually has to do with a group, 3 individuals that are wield 3 mystic powers, and they have to basically kill these evil demons that are trying to, or monsters that are trying to kill them to get the power from them. They actually are ancestors of Hannibal, the great General Hannibal, one of his soldiers that served under him.
Okay. So could it be like the 3 Musketeers? I'm just thinking that because I could go for 3 Musketeers right now. I would like some.
No,
chocolate.
it is. It's like them on steroids because they just all of them want to cut people's heads off.
3 Musketeers on
drugs,
stairs. So 3 Musketeers could go to the gym a lot.
Weren't there actually 4 Musketeers?
4.
Yes, there are 4 Musketeers.
D'Artagnan, yeah.
I just want a Snickers.
Yeah, Porthos, Athos, Aramis, D'Artagnan. But before D'Artagnan joined, it was the 3 Musketeers.
And they made a great candy bar.
They did make a good candy bar.
Yes.
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 Yep.
That is Snickers.
Oh my God!
That's hey man, let's not bring religion into this, okay?
Charlie, you have another question for Jonathan?
It was a good show when I get Mark laughing so he's speechless.
Yeah.
Charlie, you got a question for Jonathan?
Yeah, what's Jonathan? In your writing history, what was the biggest stretch from one character to another in different books?
The largest stretch that I did with my characters are actually in Street Journal. And the only reason why I say that because we really made an effort to put opposition to the theme of the character, the main character, and the villain. So like most of the time when you read villains, the rule generally is that you create a villain with layers that mirrors the hero. That's generally what they say. Our villain is just no good all the way around.
Yeah.
And totally deplorable. But the main character, even though he makes decisions that might not be the wisest decisions, his intentions are completely pure and noble to his family and his writing. So for him to have such a father that's so basically despicable and dishonorable and just horrible of a human being, for him to be so pure of a human being in his intentions, that's the widest difference.
Right.
It's interesting you take a point out of the intentions of the character. One of the things I've always heard is that to make the best villains, they don't know that they're the villain in their own story. So was that something that you consciously did? Like, I'm going to make sure I don't go over the top and just have him be evil for evil's sake, but make him think he's doing good? Or is it just something that's just, you just decided that he's going to be as evil as possible?
No, it's funny because when we wrote the villain, we was really about, I don't want him to have any good in him at all. I want him to be the worst human being you ever met in your life, the most deplorable human being you ever met in your life. And even the most forgiving person, I wanted them to say, this dude should be put in prison and rot away until the sun comes up, until he closes his eyes. Because my goal was to make him so evil that even though the young man is making the wrong choices, he would look like a hero besides such a horrible villain. And everybody else are trying to fight for the hero at all costs. And that's how I kind of waited. I felt that if you knew more about the villain, you would feel sorry for the villain, and therefore it would take away from the hero. And I wanted Ty and his cousin to be the anti-hero, Fuzz, and Ty to be the hero, literally be the hero of his own story. So.
Cool. We have a question in the chat. It says, me growing up in the South Bronx, as well as in the 80s, hip hop was huge in the urban community. Is there any influence in the story or written lyrics stated of rap in the journal? All right, I have no idea what that was.
That's a great question.
I just heard growling.
There's a big time drug dealer.
That just went somewhere. I'm glad that we all heard it, though.
Oh, what happened?
We heard some growling. We weren't sure what that was. But did you get the question?
Do you have a dog, sir? Does anyone have a dog?
No, I don't know what that was. Okay. I don't know.
That's all right. Zoom just got possessed.
I live in a weird house.
I just turned around. My dog's sleeping.
Did you get the question, Jonathan?
I got a cat.
No, did you get the question?
That won't stay out of my room. That's about as good. That's good.
Did you get the question? That was the important thing.
I'm sorry. Let's go back to that. We have a scene where Fuzz, which is his cousin, and he's a big time drug dealer, but he protects his cousin at all costs. Like Fuzz's whole life is his family, particularly his cousin Ty, and he would do anything to protect them. They turn on the radio, and as they pull up, head into the George Washington Bridge, Rakim's "Don't Sweat the Technique" is playing in the radio.
I think I got most of that.
You also have Wallabies, which was a kind of shoe. What's up?
You're getting it was breaking up again. You had Wallabies as kind of a shoe?
Yeah, that was out at that time. And we have beepers in it. Now, nobody knows about beepers today from this generation, but everybody's checking their beepers because cell phones wasn't as advanced as they are today. So.
I know about beepers.
Yeah, I know about
You,
beepers.
you're a cool man. Y'all a cool panel, so y'all know.
Yeah, we know about beepers.
Y'all know about beepers.
I have two
encountered a
beepers, sitting in my desk right now.
Somebody may give you a lot of money for the beepers.
Yeah, right.
You might get somebody to buy those beepers for an auction.
Jonathan, when they make the books into movies, you know where to come for the beepers.
Absolutely. Y'all all got.
Yep.
All right, so it's
absolutely
social media time. So where can people find out more about the book, find out more about you, get in contact with you, all that fun stuff? Go. Short burst.
Yes. Right now they have a website, futurescope.com. The best way to find me is Futurescope Comics and Entertainments, my fan page on Facebook, and the various books also have their own Facebook page, like Celestine, Zion 3, and other titles.
So I know that a lot of independent artists, because of the pandemic, have been kind of locked down from going to conventions, which is usually their biggest source of income. And most people are going to the crowdfunding sources. Have you have any Indiegogo or Kickstarter campaigns that you were thinking about doing, or is that something else that you're debating?
I actually want to do it, but right now I'm actually representing a client's book that would be out, I would say, in 2 months, called The Lesson. The gentleman's name is Derek Peoples, and I want to more crowdfund his book before I crowdfund my book.
Well, if you're,
I really want to get the gentleman out there with his property.
Well, would you like to talk quickly about that book? We have a few minutes. I said, would you quickly like to talk about that book?
That book is that book is basically about a young man who's a basketball star, and he basically decides to hustle people for money, and it's kind of a moral tale because he finds himself in a situation where he's forced to try to help the very kids that he tried to hustle.
So so why did you decide to be a representative for that book? I mean, I noticed through the other two books that you said, and then this one, it's very down-to-earth stuff that's happening as opposed to more fantastical elements. Is that something that you purposely decided to go for?
No, the interesting thing about it is the client that told me about the story said that story actually came from someone's life, that he would play people for money, almost like above the rim type of thing. And he put it as an idea. I like the idea. I like the story, especially the fact that I felt it was a down to earth moral tale, cautionary moral, and worked on the script and trying to put it out for him. You know.
All right, cool. So we're at final thoughts time. So let's see. Dominic, do you have a final thought for us?
Always support independent comics.
That's pretty straightforward. Charlie Saldino, Senior Correspondent Charlie Saldino.
You could start by supporting my comic at fishysarcasm.com, patreon.com, fishysarcasm. There you go.
Senior Correspondent Charlie Saldino, do you have a final thought for us?
Yes, it sounds like a great creative book. I wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you for coming on the show. And everybody, be nice to everybody else.
Nice.
Jenna Lee Spelly, do you have a final thought for us?
Always support your friends, and if you're not going to support them, please move over to make room for other people who will.
I like that. Jonathan, do you have a final thought? If you want to do it in like little bits and pieces, you can.
Well, first, support. It came from the radio. One of the greatest shows, with one of the greatest sets of panel of individuals.
Hold on,
support.
Of course, that's Charlie.
Wow.
All right, try again, Jonathan. One more time.
Oh my God.
Okay. Support. It came from the radio. One of the greatest shows with the greatest set of panelists. Fantastic. A lot of fun. Great individuals, and support independence. Back them up, and let's all work together, because at the end of the day, it's us that have to lift each of us up.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
My final thought is this. Charlie, unmute yourself, Charlie, because there you go.
Okay.
My final thought is this. Jonathan, I've known you for, it's been, I'd say what, about 8-9 years, right?
Yeah.
So I want to.
I'm sorry, Jonathan.
So I want to wish you a continued success. It's really sad that I don't get to see you. I usually see you at least once a year at a convention, so it pains me not that you're not around. Support his book, support independent comics. Much continued success. And when your stuff is, when you have more stuff to come back on the show. Hopefully, get a better connection, and we can have you as a guest again. So that about does it.
Thank you so much.
So that about does it for this week on It Came From
Thank you so much. I'd love to come back.
There we go. So that about does it for this week on It Came From the Radio. Join us right here and every week on this radio station. If you miss any part of the show,
tough.
Go to our website, www.itcamefromradio.com. So the archives will be up any week or so. Our next live show will be on February the 10th with writer Chris Pasquarella. And if you guys make sure you go check out to the East Meadow Public Library website, that's www.eastmeadow.info. If you miss any part of our show, go to our website, go to YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We have that. As we said, we have a pizza. You can get us a pizza, and we would greatly appreciate that. And we will see you next week.
Take it easy.
You've been listening to It Came From the Radio with Mark Torres. The views of the show's hosts and guests did not necessarily reflect that of the management, owners, or staff of this station. We now return you to your earthly scheduled broadcast.